Justice Department has sued South Carolina first, and that state's Attorney General, Alan Wilson, now joins us from Columbia, South Carolina. General, welcome to Fox News this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
So what's your reaction that the United Nations Human Rights Council is investigating photo ID?
I really don't have a reaction to it. First, it's not disputed by anybody that the UN has absolutely no legal authority to investigate or enforce anything under the laws of our Constitution or our state. Secondly, while they have no legal authority, they also have no moral authority. When you look at the members of this council that comprise of Saudi Arabia, China, Cuba, these are folks who have a long history of discriminating and violating human rights. So I'm not really concerned about what their opinion is. What I'm concerned about is enforcing the laws of our state that are otherwise constitutional.
Well, just for a moment, you talk about the members of the Human Rights Council, Communist China, Cuba. Take a look at Kuwait. It wasn't until 2005 that they let women vote. Qatar, 2003, and you mentioned Saudi Arabia. They don't even let women vote now, and they won't have the right to vote in Saudi Arabia until 2015.
Well, and you make a very valid point, and like I said, it's amazing that they're throwing us in front of this council to be judged by these people who have no moral authority to judge us on this issue. And another thing I'd like to point out is that our laws do not affect or prevent people from voting. They simply require, people already have to be registered to vote. This just requires they have a photo ID on their registration card or their state-issued driver's license. So we're not stopping people from voting. If you don't have a photo ID, you can still vote in South Carolina. You simply just must sign an affidavit creating a paper trail that you are who you say you are.
Well, that's the very basis of the NAACP and other opponents of the voter ID law. I mean, that's the basis of their argument. They claim it suppresses minority votes. It prevents people from voting. Let's take a look at what's on the NAACP website right now. They had a student there in Geneva. His name is Austin Alex. And they say Austin Alex, a student at Christian University, will not be able to vote this year under a new Texas law that does not recognize his California driver's license as a valid form of identification. Well, they're saying that this guy, that Alex, Austin, can't vote in Texas. What happens if he came to South Carolina?
Well, under our state laws, there are several forms of ID. Obviously, a state-issued South Carolina driver's license or identification card, obviously a military ID, a passport photo, but a student ID would not suffice here. Now, if that student wants to come to a university here in South Carolina and register to vote and declare permanent residency here, then he can vote all day, every day that he wants. But what we're trying to prevent is transient students coming to our state that are registered to vote in their home states. They come here for a year, 2 or 4 years to go attend a university or school. Then they return from whence they came. It's to prevent those transient voters from being registered to vote in 2 localities.
Well, Texas officials say, well, you know, all he has to do is go and get a photo ID. The NAACP and opponents say, you know, that's too much trouble. What's your response to that?
Well, my view is he's still going to have to register to vote in the state that he's in. You just can't I just can't go up to Wisconsin or California or Oregon and just go walk in and say, I want to vote. You have to be a registered voter. So, and he's just mad that they're requiring he use a state-issued ID. No one's saying he can't get a state-issued ID. If he wants to have his registration of his state photo ID in Texas, he can do that. That is not a bar to voting. It is no more onerous for him to go get registered to vote than it is for him to go get a photo ID in Texas. It's no different. In fact, in our state, you can go to the DMV and get your voter registration card and your driver's license at the same location.
And finally, quickly, do you believe that you'll prevail over the Obama administration's efforts to try and stop photo ID?
Well, the United States Supreme Court has already upheld this law as constitutional for this of Indiana, and the Justice Department under other administrations has already upheld it for other states that are subject to the Voting Rights Act under preclearance. So I believe there's precedent out there that this is going to be a losing battle for the federal government.
Well, it's pretty controversial, and they may even potentially go after some other states coming up next. What do you think is going to happen?
I believe at the end of the day that the law will prevail. This does not suppress minority vote. They make claims all the time that it does, but they show no data or analysis that says otherwise. There's no proof that what they say is true. They're just saying it. I believe the law will prevail in the end.
All right, Alan Wilson, the Attorney General of South Carolina. We thank you for joining us this morning on the Fox News Channel discussing this issue, and I hope the UN, they won't come knocking at your door. Thank you.
I'm not worried about the UN.
By the way, if you suspect voter fraud, where you live, we always say this, voter fraud at foxnews.com is our email address if you suspect election problems and the like where you are. We want to know about it. Petty,